Hi friends, and welcome to a new video and my first video of 2022. So I've decided to dive into movies today, and today we are doing my favourites of 2021 and my most anticipated for 2022. I think we can all agree that 2021 wasn't the best for movies. There wasn't any like huge big hitters and lots of them. It wasn't that kind of year. I've kind of split my favourites of 2021 into like categories because they kind of fit into distinct categories, which is quite funny. First, we're going to start off with musicals. I loved the musicals that came out this year. There were three really good ones that I had to mention. The first is West Side Story. Now, I haven't seen the original West Side Story, but if the remake is anything to go by, or reimagining, or whatever you want to call it, then I really want to see West Side Story, the original, because the remake was so good. I had an absolute blast. It is directed by Steven Spielberg, so you kind of are expecting something pretty like high caliber, and the cinematography was amazing, and the dance numbers I thought were fab. The opening, there's just this big dance number and a score above it, and it's just so good. And it is what usually if I go and see like a remake or something, you know, I don't really feel the need to want to see the original, but with West Side Story it made me really want to see the original. Okay, next we go to Lin-Manuel, and it is In the Heights. I didn't really know what to expect from In the Heights. I, you know, hadn't seen the stage show, hadn't really heard the music or anything, but I really enjoyed it. I loved the like Latino vibe and the score, and the songs are super catchy. It's one where afterwards I immediately downloaded the soundtrack and just jammed away to it. And last in the musicals category is Dear Evan Hansen. This movie broke me. I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. It's a movie that hits really deep for me because it focuses a lot on mental health. And yeah, the story is just heartbreaking, and I know a lot of people feel that Evan isn't an ideal character, you know, he makes a lot of bad decisions, but overall I felt personally that his choices came from a place of pain and also a place of wanting to help. I feel like Evan wanted to help the family. I'm not going to give in-depth spoilers, but if you've seen it you'll know what I'm talking about. I feel like he wanted to help the family, and that is where his bad choices came from. But yeah, another one where I listened to the soundtrack over and over again, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Next category, of course, is Disney. Now, Disney always have a stellar year. I mean, it's not a year without amazing Disney movies. They just keep churning them out. Let me preface by saying I don't think I've seen any of the new animated Disney movies. I know, shoot me please. I just, last year I wasn't really in the mood for animation, and animation just wasn't calling to me, but we have Marvel movies and we have, again, just amazing Disney movies, and I'm gonna start off with Spider-Man. I mean, Tom Holland. Everyone who knows me knows that I am obsessed with Tom Holland. Not an unhealthy obsession, I think it's a healthy obsession. I love Tom Holland, I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and the nostalgia factor was up again. I'm not going to be giving any spoilers, but the nostalgia factor was mega high for this Spider-Man, so I think a lot of Spider-Man fans are going to be happy with what they saw. Next we have Cruella. I'm a big Emma Stone fan. I think she's great, and I really enjoyed her in this movie. Was it the Cruella origin story that we all wanted? I don't know. But did I enjoy the movie? Did I have a blast? And would I watch it again? And would I recommend it? Absolutely. I just think Emma Stone is fantastic. The story is really good, and the acting is just like, I mean, you've got Emma Thompson in there who's just absolutely killing it, and Emma Thompson is just like a British legend. We love Emma Thompson, so yeah, I really enjoyed the story, and honestly I kind of hope they do a sequel. I don't know, does anyone else agree with me? Probably not, but hey ho. The next movie is Black Widow. I had a really good time with Black Widow. I Wasn't expecting much, but you've got some great actors in there that everyone loves. You've got Florence Pugh, is that how you say her name? Pugh, I don't know, and David, I can't remember his surname, the big guy from Stranger Things. Fab cast. And of course you've got Scarlett Johansson, who's just fab anyway. I mean, if I was ranking this from like 10 to 1, Black Widow would probably be in the 10th position, but I feel like I didn't see a lot of 2021 movies, okay? Give me a break. And then our last Disney entry is Jungle Cruise. I don't know what I was expecting from Jungle Cruise, but it really exceeded my expectations. The Rock, love him. Emily Blunt, love her. And then Jack Whitehall, who is just one of my favourite British comedians. I love him, I think he's great. Their dynamic as a threesome was really, really fun to watch, and I think they bounced off each other so well. And I think Disney did really well with the premise of a ride. You know, Jungle Cruise is a movie based off a ride at Disney called Jungle Cruise, and I think they really kind of took it to the next level. It's kind of like, to me, a mix between like The Mummy and Indiana Jones kind of thing, but yeah, I really recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. It is a lot of fun. And our last category that we go into is horror. Now, if you can't tell, I'm not really a movie reviewer. It's not something I'm good at, but I have friends who are really good at it, so I will leave my friends' YouTube channels down below. They do horror movie reviews mainly. They are fab. If you really want some in-depth reviews, go and check out their channels. So the first one I'm going to start with isn't like horror, it's more thriller. I really enjoyed The Guilty. It was a Netflix movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal, and honestly, it had some really cool twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. I love Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor. I think he's fab, and it really kept me on the edge of my seat. I was completely invested in what was happening. So if you haven't checked that one out, I really recommend it. Next up is a trilogy on its own, and it is the Fear Street trilogy that was on Netflix. There are 3 movies in the trilogy, and if you haven't seen them yet, where have you been? They were the talk of the town. If you haven't checked them out, I recommend that you check them out. They're a really fun little slasher movie trilogy that I think you would enjoy. And then our last movie out of my top 10 favourites in 2021 is, I'm sorry Sean, A Quiet Place 2. My friend Sean really thought it was boring. I really loved it. It is one of the only sequels that I've ever seen that lives up to the level of the first movie. I really think it was a great sequel. Again, Emily Blunt's in it. There's a deaf actress in it. I can't recall her name at the moment, but she's just fantastic, and I love the fact that they included a deaf actress. If you've seen the first Quiet Place movie and haven't yet seen the second, I recommend you run off now and watch it. Quickly before we move on to my most anticipated for 2022, I have an honourable mentions category, and that honourable mentions category is the Ryan Reynolds category. I love Ryan Reynolds, so my 2 honourable mentions are Free Guy, which is a super fun movie. It is on Disney Plus, I believe, and The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. I went to see it in the cinema, had no idea it was a sequel, and really just laughed the whole way through and really enjoyed it. So Ryan Reynolds, honourable mention to you. Okay, now we can move on to our most anticipated for 2022. I am hoping 2022 is much better for movies than 2021, let's just say that. But I'm going to go through these in release date order. I stuck to movies that have an actual release date. There are a couple of honourable mentions at the end, but yeah, I wanted to stick to ones that had, you know, a solid release date, so hopefully they'll actually come out in 2022. First, we have a movie that's coming out the week you're watching this, and I'm actually going to see it on Friday, the week that you're watching this. It is Scream 5. It is coming out on the 14th of January. I think if you're a 90s fan and a horror fan, you are a Scream fan. I don't really know anyone who's not a Scream fan. So yeah, it's exciting for the 5th movie. We've got Neve Campbell coming back. We've got Courtney Cox coming back and David Arquette. I really enjoyed Scream 4. You know, when they announced Scream 4 was coming, I was like, do we really need a Scream 4? We didn't, but it was a really enjoyable movie and honestly exceeded my expectations, so I'm hoping that Scream 5 does the same. So next on the list was going to be Morbius, that was meant to come out on the 21st of January, but it has literally in the past few days been pushed back to April 1st. I'm going to leave it here in this spot though. I've just realised they moved it to April 1st. Is this going to be like some sort of weird April Fool's joke? I'm nervous now. But yeah, Morbius is about a doctor with a rare blood disease who is trying to find himself a cure, and in the quest for a cure, things go a bit pear-shaped. It is a Marvel property. It's starring Jared Leto. I don't care what people say, I'm a Jared Leto fan, so I'm definitely looking forward to this movie. You know, it's a superhero, anti-hero kind of movie, I think. So yeah, it should be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing Jared Leto and what he's going to do with the character. Next we have a Tom Holland movie, of course. It is Uncharted, which comes out on the 11th of February. So the movie Uncharted is based on some action adventure like video games, and I think it has a bit to do with Tom Holland's character being like an adventure hunter or a treasure hunter or something like that. I try not to look too much into movies, I like to kind of go in a bit blind, but it's got Tom Holland in it, so I'm there guys. Next on the list is The Batman, that comes out on the 4th of March. It has Robert Pattinson as Batman. That's probably the only reason I'm interested in this movie. I'm not a big Batman person, I'm not a big DC person, I'm definitely more Marvel, but I'm interested to see what Robert Pattinson does with the character. It seems like this is going to be like a kickstart of a new trilogy. It is about Robert Pattinson as Batman, and I think it's like him in his early crime fighting days. He's meant to be about 30 years old, so I'm intrigued to see what this Batman will have, you know, compared to other Batmans, compared to Christian Bale's Batman, to George Clooney's Batman. Remember George Clooney's Batman? Neeps. The next movie I'm mentioning, I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about, and I'm not sure if that's because they don't really know about it. I've seen a lot of adverts for it lately, and it is called The Lost City. It comes out on the 25th of March, and the cast is packed. We've got Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, Daniel Radcliffe, I think Brad Pitt's even in it. So it's interesting to me that it hasn't really been promoted much, but hopefully as March comes up there'll be a bit more promo for it. A brief synopsis is Sandra Bullock is a writer. She's on a book tour. Channing Tatum plays like the cover character, you know, kind of like Mills and Boone situation, like, you know, they have that, you know, the hair cover guy, you know, it's like in the wind. I think he's meant to play like that kind of person, and then they end up going on this like adventure that kind of comes right out of one of our books. It looks very kind of fantasy, very like whimsical, and it seems like a bit of an adventure movie, which I do tend to enjoy. It gives me kind of like the Rock Jumanji feels, but like maybe in real life. I'm not 100% sure, like I said, I haven't looked into it that much. All I know is the cast looks fab, and what I saw of like a teaser trailer looked really good, so we'll see how it turns out. Next on the list we have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That name is a bit extreme, but let's go with it. This movie is set to release on the 6th of May, and it is the 28th Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. I haven't even seen the first Doctor Strange movie. I think it slots in after Spider-Man No Way Home. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But if that's the case, then I shouldn't really have to watch the first Doctor Strange movie to kind of know what's going on. But if you've seen WandaVision, it happens after that as well. Wanda's coming in to help Doctor Strange, and yeah, Marvel movie, gotta love it. I'm excited for it. The Black Phone is the next one I'm looking forward to. It is a horror movie based on a short story by Joe Hill. It comes out on the 24th of June, starring Ethan Hawke, and it seems to be about a serial killer with a preference for children. That sounds like a super dark movie, and it definitely sounds right up my alley. I know a lot of my spooky friends are really looking forward to this movie, and it's definitely one I'm looking forward to. I just need me some more good horror, and this looks like it could be the ticket. Another potential horror coming up next, and it is Nope by Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is the director and writer of Get Out and Us, so it looks like it could be good. We basically know nothing at this point about this movie. It's coming out on the 22nd of July. All we have is a poster so far, and it tells us nothing. But that's how we horror fans like to go into it. We like to go into it knowing nothing. Jordan Peele hasn't steered us wrong yet, so I'm hoping this is going to be another good one. Next on the list is the 29th MCU movie, and it is Thor: Love and Thunder. I love Thor as a character. I haven't actually seen Ragnarok yet, so I really need to get on to that. Don't judge me. The release date is the 8th of July, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it probably more than Doctor Strange, just because I love Thor as a character more. Chris Hemsworth is perfect, and I'm hoping they keep the comedy factor up, because that's what we love Thor for, right? He's funny. We love him. And last but not least on my 10 most anticipated movies of 2022 is Halloween Ends. Now, I know a lot of people didn't love Halloween Kills. As you know, might have noticed, it wasn't in my top 10 of 2021, but you know, it was a decent movie. There were bits in it I liked, bits in it I didn't like. But as it's coming out on the 14th of October, it's going to be the perfect Halloween movie, right? To go and see at the cinema, it's got to be. It's in the name. It's in the name, guys. But yeah, I am not anxious. I'm anxious to see how they end this kind of last trilogy of movies. And will evil die tonight? We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out, hopefully. That was my top 10, but of course we have to have some honorable mentions. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever comes out in November, and it's the 30th MCU film. We've got 3 MCU films that I've mentioned. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with it, and I think it's definitely going to be worth a viewing. My second of 3 honorable mentions is Disenchanted, which is going to be the sequel to Disney's Enchanted. This looks set to come to Disney Plus in autumn 2022. That's all we have. We don't have a specific date at the moment, but I really liked Enchanted. It was one of my kind of favourite live action Disney movies, so I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel. And third out of 3 honourable mentions is Deep Water, which is coming to Amazon Prime in the UK sometime in 2022. It is an erotic psychological thriller based on a book from 1957 by Patricia Highsmith. I mean, erotic psychological thriller, yes, give it to me. I mean, that has me hooked already. And let me just read the synopsis. A married couple who have fallen out of love with each other begin playing deadly mind games against one another that begin seeing those around them dying. Is anyone else in? Because I'm in. Like, doesn't that sound great? That is one I'm really excited for. The only reason it didn't end up in my top 10 is because there's no specific date. Otherwise it would have been right at the top. Anyways, I'll stop waffling. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know your most anticipated for 2022 down in the description below, what you thought of the ones that are my anticipated, and I will see you next time. Bye!